All right, now we're here. The Colorado Buffs over under win total of 5.5. Over -115, under -105. As we said at the top of the show, whatever happens at this press conference that is set to be around 1 p.m. Eastern time, 11 Mountain time, that could impact the market, could impact the projections. Our hope is that we're going to get some positive news about Deion Sanders and his availability this year. So let's just talk about the team. Bud, what do we see? We got a Caden Salter. We got a Juju Lewis. We got some okay defensive lines. We got a huge absence of receptions because it wasn't just Travis Hunter. It was like all of their good receivers are now in the NFL, either with contracts or trying to make a team. So how do we sort of look at the Buffs and imagine what they're going to look like?
I mean, I don't know that I love Colorado in any of their road games.
Ooh,
I don't know that the gap between them and Georgia Tech is actually all that big, but I think that's a game you would probably play with a couple games under your belt. You prefer because I think Brent Key will have those guys ready. Haynes King, I think it's a very good college quarterback, so that's certainly not an easy one. Do we think Wyoming's just going to be dreadful again? I have a feeling they'll bounce back some.
Come on. No, Colorado gets that win. Okay.
Do they? Like,
yes.
If you look at like the last like 5-year sample for Wyoming, I don't think Colorado's a lock over like the Colorado team without Travis and Shedeur is a lock over what Wyoming is typically. Like Wyoming was kind of a weird outlier last year with how bad they were.
I think Wyoming's drop off might be indicative of the gap that we continue to see from a conference like the Mountain West and the power conferences and sort of the modern era.
That's fair. And there's a reason that Colorado will be favored in that game. I don't think that Wyoming is getting that game. I don't think that's just some lock where they're going to win by 40.
Oh, sure. That's fine. But I think they're a double-digit favorite in that game.
Yeah, probably. As long as one of the two quarterbacks are good. I just think like the road schedule here is really tough. I'm concerned with some of the players they lost in spring, like two other teams who are like that. And I don't think they did a great job of backfilling that. They lost an offensive lineman. They lost a DB. Just some dudes that I know schools are pretty happy to get. So I'm going to go under here slightly. It's not one that I think you need to be slamming. This got bet already a full win under. So this was like 6.5 even money not that long ago. So again, like how much juice do you think is left on this under? But I'll go under very slightly since we got to pick every single one.
Under. I think for all the reasons you guys mentioned, the loss of production on the offensive side of the ball, the question marks at quarterback, I mean, the different style of play, they're going to have a completely different identity. Mm-hmm. If you listen to their coaches and what they want to do, they're going to try to be a run-heavy team. And I guess it does help to have one of the better tackles in the country in Jordan Seaton coming back, and you're going to try to make that your strength. And I would tend to lean it's probably going to be Caden Salter in that role, and you can work in Juju, kind of sprinkle him in with packages. But I also wonder, I think already it's challenging in the really transfer portal heavy teams when you have so much turnover to kind of keep the positive mojo going if things aren't going well. And I think you kind of become a front-running team where if you're winning, it's good. But if you're losing, I think it could kind of come off the rails. And we saw a little bit of that 2 years ago with really strong alphas in the locker room. Without those, I would say I have to go under.
4-8 2 years ago might have been one of the worst possible records given the talent on that roster.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
I mean, we've already relitigated. They weren't really one-score losses. They were backdoor covers. I think that 9-4 is probably close to average. I know we've had a couple games that they got some breaks there. I feel like this team's floor might be 3-9. I feel like this team's ceiling might be 8-4. Like this is just such a lower ceiling that we're talking about. So when you split the difference there, I'm right there at a 5.5, kind of on where I'm spot on. And I think that this is going to swing on how they do in those first two power conference games. I'm going to give them Delaware, though the tailgate, man, the tailgate is not Tailgate's not being nice today. Tailgate's saying you got to watch out for the Delaware trap game. Okay, the Blue Hens, if they pulled that off, that would be no bueno. But I think Georgia
FBS Blue Hens, right?
The what?
FBS Blue Hens.
That's right. Good call.
Because I covered this team when they were in the FCS playoffs. They're one of the teams that made the jump this year, right?
Yep. Conference USA this year.
Yeah.
Yep. Georgia Tech and Houston, the power conference games right there. I think they swing that. Those might be coin flip games. You lose them both, things could get a little dicey. I do not like the Arizona State, Kansas State to conclude, or a road trip to West Virginia. I know this was the game, Bud, where I was talking about you might want to play West Virginia early. Now, you made a great point about the depth, but what happens if season's a little bit rickety? You just need that last win. But guess what? Rich Rod's finally got the offense humming. You've got to travel all the way out to Morgantown and be able to get that victory. I'm not going to bet this. I'm not going to throw this on the win total locks. Kind of spot on. But to me, Georgia Tech and Houston would be one where by the end of week 3, I feel like I'm going to know whether this one's going under or over.
So, question for you. If Deion announces today in an hour and a half that he is either stepping down or taking like a leave of absence type thing, does this impact your opinion on this win total?
Yes. Because I'm putting so much emphasis
over.
Because I'm putting so much emphasis on Georgia Tech and Houston games at the beginning of the season. I think the disruption to the preparation process would be enough to go from me being like, I'm spot on, I'm right with you, FanDuel, to thinking that now that would be an impact. And look, my prediction would be that the market would move too. So I might lose it and not be able to take it with a lot of value. But yeah, in terms of my prediction, it would, just because I think Georgia Tech and Houston are key to this.
Like if the market reacted very strongly to this,
jump back in, baby.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like Deion doesn't call plays. His in-game stuff is not always innovative. So I think you could find some value on Colorado if he wasn't the head coach, if the market overreacts.
What a loaded statement. I appreciate that. All right.